Hey everybody, so today we are continuing along with our season previews for the 2019-2020 season, and we're going to be talking about the defending Stanley Cup champion St. Louis Blues. Before we get into the video, I just quickly want to say, if you're not yet a subscriber to this channel, please hit that subscribe button and follow along for all the hockey content. And if you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that like button. That really helps out a lot with the channel. So the St. Louis Blues, they've signed Ivan Barbashev now, got him locked up at just under $1.5 million with his new contract for the next 2 years. So that settles all of their RFA situations. That settles their roster. They now have a full roster for this year, and they are under the salary cap. Slightly under the salary cap, but under the salary cap. So St. Louis going forward, looks pretty similar to the team that just won the Stanley Cup. Pat Maroon, obviously no longer there. He's in Tampa Bay now, is the big loss out of that lineup. But pretty much everything else remains intact for St. Louis. So that's obviously a very good sign for them. For the Blues, for their line combinations, I use a mixture of, I look at cap-friendly depth charts, and then I look at daily face-off line combinations, and basically go with what they have, and then if there's anything in particular I want to switch around, I will do that. But let's take a look at the projected lineup here for St. Louis, and it is definitely looking very, very good again. For this team. The top line, Jaden Schwartz, Braden Shen, and Vladimir Tarasenko. Obviously, a ton of offensive potential with that line. Some great goal-scoring potential as well. Ryan O'Reilly, depending on who's playing and how well, Ryan O'Reilly could always pop up and play with Schwartz and Tarasenko, and move Shen down to the second line with Perron and Sanford for now. Whoever plays on that left side, we'll talk about that in a second. So I would say that their top two centers are pretty interchangeable, but I have Shen up on that top spot with Tarasenko and Schwartz for now. O'Reilly could always bump up there. Second line then, Zach Sanford on the left wing, Ryan O'Reilly, and David Perron. I have Zach Sanford there for now. I think that is kind of an open roster spot on this team. That second line left wing, I think Sanford certainly has a shot at it. I think Sammy Blais has a shot at it. Those are the two. One of them is going to end up on the third line. One of them is going to end up on the second line. It's just a matter of which. Offensively, Sanford was better last year, so I'm going with him. We'll see what happens in the preseason. That leaves Sammy Blais down on the third line with Tyler Bozak and Robert Thomas. Robert Thomas is another guy that I think, obviously he's only 20 years old, he's a young player, but I think depending on how well he produces offensively, he could definitely be a guy that ends up moving up in this lineup as the season goes along. And that leaves Alex Steen, the old grizzled veteran at this point, on the fourth line with Ivan Barbashev, just signed the 2-year deal, and Oscar Sundqvist. So as a whole, this forward group is pretty darn good. It's not the most offensively, I don't know the right word, but the biggest offensive powerhouse in the league as far as goal scoring goes. But they've got some really good players. You're going to get 30 goals out of Tarasenko. Shen can put up points. Schwartz, when he's healthy, and that's a big thing with him, is staying healthy. Schwartz can put up a lot of points when he's healthy. O'Reilly obviously had a phenomenal season last year. David Perron, even though he's 30 plus now, still can produce a 25-goal season. And then they've got some young guys like Zach Sanford, like Sammy Blais, like Robert Thomas that I want to see more offense out of. They're now, Sanford's 24, Blais 23, Thomas is 20. He's a little bit younger, but I want to see those guys start to produce more offensively. They're coming into the point in their careers where they're not, they're not fighting for jobs at the NHL level. Now they're at the NHL level. Now it's time to produce at the NHL level. So I'd like to see Sanford really put a good season together. I'd like to see Sammy Blais. He only had 4 points in 32 games last year. I'd like to see him, maybe hit that 10 to 15 goal mark this season, playing a full year at the NHL level. But this is a pretty darn good forward group. They've got forwards who can also play well defensively. They got some good two-way players. They're a team to be reckoned with. There was no fluke that they won the Stanley Cup. Moving on to their defense. Defense core is completely intact. Jay Bouwmeester and Alex Pietrangelo, still your top pair. You could break them up if you wanted, for sure. You could maybe move Edmondson up or Parayko up and break up Bouwmeester and Pietrangelo. But for the most part, I think they still play together quite a bit. And then that leaves Edmondson and Parayko, two young, really, really good young defensemen for St. Louis. Both 26 years old, both just getting into that, real prime of their careers, and they've got a lot of potential there with those two. So really good top four, and then a very, very solid bottom pair, Vince Dunn and Robert Bortuzzo. Dunn can put up points even as a bottom pair defenseman. He'll get power play time, and he can put up points from the back end, where Bortuzzo's more your defensive defenseman, stay-at-home type guy. But good bottom pair there. And then Carl Gunnarsson is your extra seventh defenseman like he has been for the past couple of seasons. Jordan Binnington will now be the full-time starter, obviously, in goal. He came in about halfway through last season, saved the season for the Blues, and then carried them all the way to a Stanley Cup. Jake Allen will be there to back him up. We're going to see if Binnington's the real deal this year. Last year, obviously, he got very, very hot and carried that team. But now it's, can he do that for a full season? Was he just a hot goaltender last year, or is that who Jordan Binnington is? We're going to find out this year. So that's going to be an interesting story to watch. But I have a lot of faith in Binnington. I think he's a tremendous, tremendous goaltender, and will show that this season for the Blues. So extra forwards, you have Robbie Fabry and Mackenzie McEachern as the extra guys up front. They'll be healthy scratches as forwards, most likely. And then Carl Gunnarsson is your seventh defenseman. There's some other guys that we could possibly see at the NHL level. Jordan Kyrou, 21-year-old winger. He could maybe get some NHL time this year. They've still got Jordan Nolan, although he's kind of an AHL veteran at this point. Nick Lappin coming over from New Jersey. Nathan Walker's now in with St. Louis. So you've got kind of some veteran guys down in the AHL that you could call up if need be. But I think until someone gets injured, this is going to be your main lineup. Defensively, Derek Pouliot now is signed, projected to be in the minors, but signed with St. Louis, and Jake Dotchin, Andreas Borgman's come over. So there are some possibilities for call-ups there. And then you have Jake Wallman, who is someone that I don't know if many people know about, but I know him very well because he went to Providence College, and I watched him a lot there. He was a St. Louis Blues draft pick back in 2014. He's 23 now. He's been out of college for a little bit. He's got some AHL time under his belt now, and I'd like to, maybe he makes his an NHL appearance this year. 23, it's starting to get to that age where it's like you're going to make it or you're not, and he's a guy to keep an eye on for a potential defensive call up for this team. But overall, I think the Blues are in very, very good shape heading into this season. They've got most of their Stanley Cup winning roster intact. They can score goals when they're healthy. They're a good defensive team. We're going to see just how good Jordan Binnington is over the course of a full season this year. I think he's going to be fine. Jake Allen, while he certainly struggled as a starter, I think with the pressure off of him now, I think Jake Allen will be fine as a backup. and will be a more than adequate guy backing up who only needs to play, maybe 30, 35 games in a season. So, this is a team I fully expect to make the playoffs. I fully expect to, be a team to watch in the playoffs, and once again, a Stanley Cup contender this season. So, with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.